Hey guys, Radiant Customs here. Here's video 4 for our Chaos Warriors batch paint. All about metal today. So we've got this Chaos symbol on the back, we've got some belt buckles, all of our swords, pretty much any of those details that we've got left. So let's get started. First up, we're going to do swords. So grab your Leadbelcher and a medium base brush. Pretty much anything that's similar size to your sword. That way we can reduce any brush marks. We're not going to go too crazy on these. They're not power swords or anything. So let's get that silver on there, some shade later on, and do some edge highlighting. And that's pretty much it. Leadbelcher is one of the two silver base colors I use. The other is Vallejo's gunmetal, which has a pretty blue undertone, which we're not going for because these swords are going to be kind of green. So we're going to skip that and stick to the Leadbelcher. So I'll show you the full process for this one, and then we'll move on to the next step. I'm also going to go in with a medium layer brush after this larger base brush, just so I can get in those nooks and crannies and make sure I'm not overpainting things that we painted in earlier videos. I won't show that because it's pretty simple and it's more of a cleanup than an actual step. Okay, so all our swords are based and we can move on to our next step. Anthonian Camoshade is going to give us a green diseased look on all of our swords. So we're going to use this all over the blade, but focusing towards the hilt. That way we can dry brush from the tip and focus all our highlights there and give a slight gradient look. So here's one of the swords after one coat. It's really not that green. So let's go in starting from the top and pushing that Anthonian Camoshade to the bottom. Doing a second pass and getting that nice green color that we're looking for. So with a good amount of paint on the brush, we're starting at the top of the sword and using the tip of our brush to push it towards the hilt. We're going to take our time on these, making sure to always go top to bottom and get that gradient without having to do any wet blending. At this point, I've got the feel down, so let's knock out the rest. So with our shade down, the biggest step is out of the way. The next thing we have to do is dry brush. So we're going to take the Leadbelcher that we already put as the base and pretty much do what we've been doing with everything else. Dry brush from the top down and stopping about midway down the sword. That way we don't get rid of that gradient that's building up. So with our Drybrush and some Leadbelcher, we're going to work that color down the sword to about halfway, and eventually we'll end up with something like this. So our final step on the swords is going to be an edge highlight of Aluminum by Vallejo. I use the air metallics because they're pre-thinned and I don't have to use any water. Using the side of my brush, I'm going to run it along the edge of the sword, catching any of that raised detail, a little bit down the middle, along those curves, and about halfway down the sword. So here I'm finishing this one up, and here's a better look at that. Weapons are definitely a focal point of a model, so I'm going to take a little bit extra time on these that I won't on the rest of the metallics. So for the rest of our metallics, we're going to use Leadbelcher on all the Chainmail, Balthasar Gold for anything that we want to be bronze, and the two shades that we're going to use, Agrax Earthshade for the bronze, and Nuln oil for the Leadbelcher Chainmail. Speaking of which, I think that's a good enough place to start. So all of these models have this piece of chainmail in between their legs, so we will need to be careful around the leather and the armor that we painted in previous episodes. So to get around that armor, we're going to use this round brush. It's got kind of a round tip. I think it's a size 0. So let's get started. Nothing too special, just going to lay down this Leadbelcher and let it do its work. So I'm going to take some time here and give a couple of shoutouts that are well deserved. Cody AD, Big Kahuna, and Juice of the Box, you guys have been so helpful getting this channel started and on Twitch. Cody AD helped me a lot with our overlays and learning Premiere Pro to do all my editing. Big Kahuna is the best mod anyone could ask for, and Juice of the Box has been an awesome sounding board. And if Radiant Customs ever gets a TikTok, you guys have him to thank. And to anyone I didn't name, I still appreciate you, and thank you so much for watching my content here on YouTube or Twitch or Instagram. Thank you again, guys. You're all awesome. So let's finish up this chainmail and move on to the rest. So here's a look at our chainmail. Just a simple dark silver color. To make sure we have contrast, we're going to use some Nuln oil, also known as talent in a bottle. Alright, it's all shaken up. Grab our medium shade brush and just get it on there. Alright, we can call this one done. That's what it looks like after a single coat. And just to compare, here's one without the Nuln oil. So you can see it really just adds shadows and it makes that metal look worn. So let's get the rest done the same way. Alright, chainmail done. Balthasar gold is next. This is going to be our color for our bronze, and we're just going to hit everything that we haven't hit before. So our belt buckles, sword hilts and handles, and any decorative pieces that are left. So I'm really taking my time here, using either a medium layer brush or a small layer brush depending on what area I'm working on. Being careful around the things that we've already painted since we're nearing the end of this project and I don't want to spend too much time on cleanup. Again, I'm running into that habit of taking a little bit longer on the first model just to get an idea of what I'm going to be running into later on. So I'm going to cut the footage here just because it does take a bit, and here's what it looks like when I'm all done. Next up is shade. You've seen it quite a bit, so I'm going to skip over it. It just dulls down that metal and helps give a worn effect. As I was shading that bronze, I realized that the chainmail would probably need another layer of Nuln oil, so I'm going to go ahead and do that just to make it look older and dirtier. So with our shade applied, we're going to go with a small dry brush of Balthasar gold and just bring back some of that brightness. To get the effect I'm looking for, I'm going to focus on the highest points of the model, using quick strokes to bring back some of that shine while also leaving the shadows. I can call this one done, and here's a comparison for you guys. The one on the left is with the dry brush, and the one on the right is just shade. So to quickly run through what I'm doing here on this banner, Rakarth Flesh gives us our base for all of the cording. Corvus Black is going to be a base for the hair. And then we're going to go through and put Agrax on both of those. After that's dry, we're going to layer it up with Rakarth Flesh again. And the hair is going to be layered with Dark Reaper. This Nurgle banner came out pretty good, and I'm happy with the way it came out. I don't do this step on all my models, but for these, since they're just regular mortal helmets, there's no glow or color to paint in here, so I'm going to take that Nuln oil and just paint in a shadow. It's pretty quick and it's a nice effect. And with that, part 4 comes to a close. If you want to see part 5 and be notified when it comes out, please like and subscribe. It really means a lot to me, and I can't wait to make more content for you guys. So we'll see you in the next one.